Hi there, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Hello. We're alive.
Tim
Hey.
and Mike and MetroDoc.
Hello, guys.
Oh, hello, guys. No gals yet.
What was I going to do? Well, that's right. Evernote. Intro. And we got Captain Nick. Captain Nick.
So Steph and Camacho are busy being contributing members of society and working.
Well, I wouldn't go that far,
All right, I got to put my.
but they are
peanuts
working. Well, I'm not even sure I'd say that. But okay.
Well, I
Okay.
don't know what they're doing at this exact moment, but I think they're working.
Well, Nick Camacho had a quick couple of minutes. He had a question for me regarding Starlink.
Oh.
And so right before we did our pre-show,
Oh, so he was goofing off work then.
yeah, and I said, so are you going to be able to, so now you're here and you're available. Are you going to be with us on the show? No, I can't. Okay.
So he had
that
time to
way.
pick your brain, but
Yeah, he's got priorities.
I understand. So that launch didn't go too well last night, right, Jeff?
No,
No,
nothing went very well
no.
on that. I mean, they didn't even try to catch the booster, but the Starship itself, that was the main
Yeah.
part of their test, and
Yep.
it started doing it spinning out of control kind of thing, like Launch 5 over the Indian Ocean.
Yeah. Tim Van Ram's mind is a scary place. This is his response to, are they working at this very moment?
Wait, I have to look at the proper window. Where is it? We can't rule out wearing women's underwear occasionally.
I don't know. It's just sort of random comment.
I don't know. What was that in reference to exactly, Tim?
Was that a proper job? I didn't realize you get paid for doing that.
I guess strippers can.
Is that I guess you get,
True.
it's like a part-time job. I
But they're
guess.
not paid to wear it. They're paid to not.
Well, they
Wear
have
it.
to wear it initially, and then they
Good point.
take it off, right? That's the
Oh, yeah, that is a thing,
whole point.
apparently.
I think I told you guys, one of the groups that I used to work with, all guys, of course, for the most of them, and I was moving on to another job. And so the deal was you got taken out for lunch usually and they took me to a strip club, which I kind of enjoyed because I probably would never have gone on my own, but I knew it was just all what they wanted to do. But it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It was educational for me. I was actually amazed how really good looking the women were. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but they were very good looking girls.
You must have been
Canadian
at a
girls.
high-class club.
It was nice.
Because if you go into small little towns and kind of the really, really not so nice
sure.
upper scale kind of thing, then you can go,
Yeah, this was one of the bigger.
Jeff's
I
quite the
guess,
connoisseur.
places to
Everything
try.
is relative, Jeff. Everything is
yeah,
relative.
that's true. Well, in my earlier days, when I was a bad boy,
I've heard. I wouldn't know, but I've heard that Toronto establishments are.
I can attest
the upper,
to that. I mean,
upper
I have
class.
a friend that said that Toronto was quite nice.
I've heard that Montreal strip clubs are very attractive, but I've never
I have
been.
not been to any there.
Well, so we're going to need Liz to do some field reporting for us, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, it's not.
See, this is all
that's
before I
probably my
became a
one and only
Catholic,
time.
and I had to go to confession. So, ever since I've become a Catholic, I try to stay away from those establishments.
There you go. Keeps you on the straight and narrow or something.
Maybe, sort of.
All right, are we getting close to getting going?
I think
Ooh, this is actually going to start almost
we
on
might be
time.
ready to go. All right. Let me get the current show there. Okay. And over here. And why is it? Okay, hang on.
Hold on, Poppy. I'll let you out in a minute. Yes, Van Ram is just checking your recorders are on, Jeff.
Oh, Thank you, Tim. They were not.
Thank God you're here. In spite of the women's underwear comment and everything, we're glad you're here.
Recent project. I didn't even have it on the right project.
Oh boy. All right. Oh well.
Okay, wait. Because I was
Bloody
doing
hell.
the... What?
I haven't done a number. Hold the
Oh, yeah.
horses.
Okay, holding.
Holding.
Horses
What
are
show?
holding.
What
Good, I
show
needed
is
some
it?
time to do this.
665.
Hold short of 665.
665.
665.
Okay.
Oh,
Holding
next week's going to
short.
be interesting.
Yes, I know. Nick's already thinking about the cover art for next week.
He's had that planned
that's
out
gonna
for
be
months.
So easy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
My phone number starts with 666.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
And I'm quite
No.
proud of that, actually.
Sure
I can't tell you how many times I've given, like somebody will say, can I have your phone number? And I give it to them. And they sort of look at me like, really?
Never mind.
Is that long distance?
They back away slowly. Like,
Yeah. Okay, we really don't need it. Thank you.
we really won't charge you for that delivery. It's okay.
Okay. Finder.
Tim is still stuck on this women's underwear thing.
I know. Bob Rivers had a wonderful Christmas song.
You know, you don't have to really think too much about it. And the attachment that Tim has to women's
I
wearing
actually walk
women's
around in
underwear.
women's underwear every day.
Do you?
I have
Wow.
clothing on top
Freak.
of it. I know.
Wow.
I know that
Very
comes as a
strange.
shock to you guys. I would venture to say Steph probably does too. I know
We
that's
shouldn't
more
assume
can
things
ask her.
about people.
Oh, man. Okay. I think I have that fixed.
Okay.
But we're still waiting on 665.
Oh,
So,
yes, that's right. Okay.
yeah. And let me make sure
He's
that I
looking
have
for
the
some
recording
tragedy
going.
that is associated with 665.
No, I found something. That's
Okay.
good.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. He's good. Jeff, he's good?
Okay, just a quick, Liz, just to make sure that I'm recording the
Oh, yeah.
control room. Yes, thank you. Okay, good.
Okay. I'm ready.
And back up to the backup over there, and we go to
So much redundancy. We love it.
media assets. You can say that again. You can say that again. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 665.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the week of May 26, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, new information on the blinding smoke which forced the evacuation of a Delta flight in February. And it was an Army communications glitch that helped cause 2 flights to divert from Reagan National. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 665 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining us today from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
retired professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff, and hello, everybody. Number 665, this week's show number. It was formed on the 22nd of January in 1945 as a Royal Canadian Air Force Squadron flying Osters. They hung around for 5 months before being disbanded in July.
Wasn't
Wow.
wasn't Oster a blender company?
I think that's Oster, actually.
I don't know. It did have a propeller on the front, so I
Right.
guess it could have been.
Oh.
They flew Taylorcraft Osters, the Mark V variant.
And then the little miniature versions of them, they had a whole bunch of them, like, just laying around. So they went ahead and made them into blenders, I think.
There you go. I'm sure
That's
that's,
the
what
story.
happened.
That's the reason why you listen to the show. And now you know the rest of the
Now you
story. Also, joining us from the north woods of the Atlanta suburbs, race car driver, self-taught chef, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot with an interest in anything with enough horsepower to kill him. It's Alpha Juliet, and we call him AJ.
Hey Jeff, hey everybody. Glad to be back. Good to see you guys. I'm gonna have to start. I think my pay rate's going up 3 in a row. This is becoming a thing.
All right. 3 in a row. Mark him down. All right. Very good. Good to see you. And also from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
Great to have you with us, one and all. The couple of regulars aren't going to be able to join us today, Dr. Steph and Nick Camacho, because of something called, what was that called again?
Something called, like, starts with a W.
Work.
Yeah,
work,
that's
work,
it.
work, work,
Something
work,
like
work,
work,
work. Yeah.
work.
Oh, well.
That
miss
sounds
'em.
terrible.
I know. Well, somebody's got to do it. All right.
that. Have a good show,
With
you guys.
that,
Cheers, Liz.
thanks. All right. With that in mind, let's, since it is an aviation podcast and we claim that we cover aviation news, so I think I'll just hit this bumper right here.
Stand by for news.
And we never claimed to do it well, but we're doing it. All right, we're going to start off with this final report. And it involves, and this is kind of a little miniature theme here on today's news segment, involving a Delta Airlines Boeing 717-200 registration 955 Alpha Tango. Yeah, that's one of my old yeah.
Did you check your
What would you
logbook?
call that?
One of your old girlfriends.
955. I think I flew all of them. Yeah. Anyway, they were performing Flight 1092. I've flown that flight as well from Atlanta, Georgia to Charlotte, North Carolina with 104 people on board. Was on approach to Charlotte's runway 36 left when the crew initiated a go-around due to unsafe nose gear indication. Climbed to 4,000 feet, entered a hold to work the checklists. After working the checklist, the crew declared an emergency, requested emergency services on standby. The aircraft performed a low approach to 36 left. And let's see, wait a minute. I've just lost my place here. To runway, position for another approach to runway 36 left and landed with the nose gear extended. No, without the nose gear extended. I'm thinking, why are we even talking about this? I all the time landed that airplane with the nose wheel extended, but in this case they didn't. And then they get all this notoriety and everything, like they're heroes or something, you know? Gosh. Anyway, so on the 23rd of May, 2025, so just about 5 days ago, the NTSB released their final report on this. And it was due to the reason why the nose gear assembly did not extend is because of a fatigue fracture of the upper lock link that initiated along scratch features on the lower surface at the parting line of the forged aluminum component. Well, yes, not easy for me to say, Liz. Contributing to the accident was the overhaul facility's non-compliance, with service bulletin 717-32-002. Ooh.
Oh, no. They did 001, but must have forgotten 002.
Well, maybe 001 is another one that they screwed up. No, they probably did that one. Yeah, they just didn't do 002 on this one. So I don't know. This report goes into a lot of detail regarding the, let's see, did you show those pictures? Yeah, there's the upper lock link, the diagram there that broke, and it broke pretty much halfway between the two pivot points. And I guess there were just some metal fatigue or something that caused the fracture. We're not going to talk about that, Liz. I may have like landed a little bit too hard on the nose wheel on that particular jet. I don't know. I'm not claiming it. I'm not denying it. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't me. And there's a little bit of the cross section and the metallurgical analysis of the radiating fracture stress. I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I don't even know what I'm talking about.
It looks broken.
It's broken. Yes, thank you. It did broke. I don't know what else to say. But they did the emergency landing with the nose wheel retracted, and they also initiated an evacuation on the runway using it looks like the front doors, L1 and R1 in the slides. Nope, they didn't have long at all to slide, since the thing is already not that high above the ground with the nose wheel assembly actually extended. So this gets them a little bit closer. And I don't know what else to say about this. I mean,
I've got a question. How come damage to the up-lock link stopped the gear from deploying down? Because you thought if the up-lock link wasn't working,
is it the up-lock or the upper lock? I think it helps hold it down. It's just the upper portion of the. So
there must be a lower lock link as well, and the upper lock link was the one that was broken. So it's not. It has nothing to do with the position, I guess. It locks whether it's up or down,
unless it's broken.
Unless it's broken. Yeah.
Wow. Well, anyway, I discovered why. Because you got to plow through this to find out what that uplock link has to do with stopping it from deploying. But apparently when it cracked, part of it fell down, which prevented the gear from getting free movement. So basically it jammed the gear. But it is, in fact, I think you're right there, AJ. It's the upper lock link rather than the up lock, which is... Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was hoping that your expanded analysis, Nick, was going to make this an actual interesting news story, but I was wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was just commenting really on their analysis by going, you talk for pages and pages about metal fatigue, and then you don't actually say how this cracked item stopped it from deploying. So,
well,
that's the bit that's interesting to me.
That means they're effective bureaucrats.
I think the problem was the engineer on the board. He was a metallurgical expert, and so that's what he wanted to talk about. And
of course, Tim always has something pithy to say in our live audience. As Elmer Fudd would say, "What's up, Locke?" Of course, I can't. Can anybody do an Elmer Fudd accent? Can you, AJ? No. Okay. What's up? What's up, Locke?
Well, I guess. But I do have a technical question. Wouldn't it have been Bugs that said that?
Yeah. What's up, Locke?
I think you're right.
Elmer would have said he's hunting landing gear or something.
Do you think that's good enough reason to boot Tim from live chat
Oh, yeah.
room?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect reason.
Materially incorrect. You're out.
Actually, there's never really a bad reason to do that. Okay, let's continue with this preliminary report on yet another 717, Boeing 717, or really an MD-95, but Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas, and we know the rest of the story. Anyway, NTSB releases new report for a Delta flight that evacuated in Atlanta over, quote, tremendous amount of smoke. This is from WSB TV, Channel 2 in Atlanta, GA. And passengers describe chaotic moments. Delta flight deplaned on the tarmac of Atlanta Airport over haze. It all began to unfold minutes after Delta Flight 876 took off. It quickly returned to the airport because of what Delta called haze in the aircraft. Yeah, or smoke. Smoke and fumes. Let's see, the National Transportation Safety Board. Okay. Flight took off from Hartsville-Jackson Airport on February 24, but had to quickly turn around after the smoke filled the cabin. Let's get a little bit more detailed information here, shall we? Let's actually read the Aviation Investigation Preliminary Report from the NTSB. That'd be a good idea, Jeff. On February 24, 2025, Delta Airlines 876, or Flight 876, a Boeing 717-200. This one, November 942 Alpha Tango, and yes, I flew that one, I'm sure, experienced smoke in the cabin and cockpit during takeoff. From Atlanta International, the airplane returned to the airport, landed safely. The crew conducted an emergency evacuation. They had 99 passengers and crew on board, and 2 passengers received minor injuries during the evacuation, which is almost always the case, right? The flight was conducted under the provisions. Okay, well, that's not important information. They were supposed to be going from. Yeah, well, all the gear extended on this one, Liz, so that's why. Yeah, the flight was supposed to be going from Atlanta to Columbia Metro Airport in Columbia, South Carolina. During the takeoff roll, flight attendants in both during the takeoff roll, flight attendants in both forward and aft areas of the cabin saw smoke. The 2 FAs in the forward section first noticed it emanating from the area over the L1 door, the front left door. The flight attendant in the aft section first noticed it coming out of all the vents. Both the FA in the aft and the lead FA in the forward section attempted to contact the pilots using the emergency call button, but did not get a response. They also took turns using the interphone to try and announce to the pilots that there was smoke in the cabin. After takeoff, the lead FA also knocked on the cockpit door. The aft flight attendant made a public address announcement to the passengers, advised that they were aware of and trained for the situation to remain calm. The lead FA recalled that the smoke was very thick and that he was unable to see past the first row of seats. A non-rev flight attendant who had been in a jump seat self-deployed to the exit row to prevent an unanticipated evacuation or assist in evacuation if one ensued. Very good for that flight attendant. That was good thinking. The pilots reported that just as the airplane rotated for takeoff, they heard the flight attendant call chime and knocking on the flight deck door. Shortly thereafter, smoke was visible rising from the floor near the rear of the cockpit. They donned their oxygen masks and initially delayed responding to the flight attendant calls as the captain focused on flying the airplane, which is always the most important thing, while the first officer declared an emergency with air traffic control. Shortly after takeoff, a master caution alert for smoke detected in the forward lavatory occurred. The first officer began the quick reference handbook checklist for this alert and then attempted to communicate with the crew, the cabin crew, using the handset phone. He recalled that he could hear the cabin crew, but when he spoke, they could not hear him. As the lead FA began to unlock the cockpit door, he was able to hear the first officer on the interphone advise that the pilots were aware and returning to the airport. The lead flight attendant then relayed that information to the other cabin crew and passengers. Soon after, an alarm warning of low oil pressure for the right engine occurred. Okay, that deserves this. And let's see, they performed the QRH procedure, which ultimately led them to shut down the right engine. As the airplane was returning to the airport, the captain elected to change the approach from 27 right to 27 left in order to get glide path guidance since our visibility was restricted due to the smoke and the face mask. That was a quote from the captain. The remainder of the approach and landing were uneventful. The crew stopped the airplane on the runway after landing, and the airport rescue and firefighting vehicles arrived soon after. The pilots opened the flight deck door, noticed a tremendous amount of smoke in the cabin, and the captain immediately ordered an evacuation. The aft flight attendant coordinated evacuation through the tail cone door, which we have in that picture that we'll have in the show notes, with no anomalies. The lead FA managed door 1 left, which initially had some difficulty opening, but succeeded on his third attempt. The third FA managed the evacuation through the 1R, the forward right door, with no anomalies. Let's see, the non-rev flight attendant, who positioned herself in the emergency exit row, managed the overwing emergency exits evacuation. She remained on the wing with some passengers who were unable to jump from the wing to the ground. The airplane does not have evacuation slides for the overwing exits. The egress path is to slide down the trailing edge of the wing. Wing flaps were extended to 25 degrees prior to the evacuation in accordance with a checklist to reduce the height from the wing to the ground. She coordinated with the other 3 FAs, and they determined at that time, because there were no remaining risks inside or outside the cabin, the passengers remaining on both wings could re-enter the cabin and evacuate using the 3 usable deployed doors slides. Let's see. Here's what happened here. The airplane was equipped with Rolls-Royce model BR715-C1 engines. During a post-incident examination, maintenance personnel found no oil visible in the sight glass of the right engine oil reservoir, indicating the quantity was at or near zero. Examination of the right engine's components continues.
That's because it was all floating around in the cabin.
Yep. That's good for you, too, to breathe that stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's very healthy. You know, all those antioxidants.
So there you go. I mean, it was, it's too bad that they didn't know about the fact that there was no oil in that engine before they initiated their takeoff roll. Things would have been a little bit easier for them, I think. Probably not.
Presumably there was some kind of failure that leaked the oil, or was did it just wasn't maintained?
I think, I don't know, it doesn't really say there, but I'm assuming that it must have been a failure after start and during the taxiing event. Yeah, or maybe during that takeoff, the initial stage of the takeoff roll. That is, it pops off and it rolls out of the way. Yeah.
It's designed to roll out the way. That's very clever. How did they get it to do that?
Well, it's just like a dog. Have you ever had a dog and you teach the dog tricks how to roll over?
But don't you have to be there shouting at it to make it roll?
Yeah. Well, actually, after a while, it just knows to roll because it's ingrained in its tail cone brain.
Or if you ignore it, it just gets bored and walks away, rolls away.
That's true too. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question.
Okay.
We've got a flight attendant and some passengers on the wing. How come they couldn't slide down the flap? Because that is the approved and presumably a safe method of exit. Is it actually written, presumably it's on the safety cards as well? That's how you do it?
You get a special gold star for that. So those safety pamphlet things that we're supposed to be reading, especially if you're in the exit row, and when the flight attendant comes up to you and looks you in the eye and says, do you accept the responsibilities of being in the exit row, and you know how to operate the emergency exits and know what to do once they're away and you're having to evacuate, and everybody goes, yes. You know what? I'd say about 90% of the time, they probably should say no, because they probably didn't even bother looking at what they were supposed to do.
I think you got the response wrong, because I just sat in an exit row on the way back from Portland, and 5 of the 6 responses was, huh? Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. What? Are you talking to me? Yeah. Oh. And you want me to take my earbuds out of my ear so I can hear what you're saying? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was probably an irritating pilot in a uniform when I sat in the exit row, which was quite often. Okay, I was always. Because that was usually one of the seats that were available for deadheading pilots that had a little bit more leg room. Not that I'm a tall person and really didn't need it, but it's kind of nice. I would always say to the person sitting to my left and to my right that, hey, if this happens, when you go out that, if I'm on the right side, when you go out that door, or that hole, you're going to go to your right, because that's the aft part of the wing. That's the way you need to go, because that's where the flaps are going to be. Okay, don't go to the left, because it's a big drop if you try to go over the wing, the forward part of the wing.
Watch
But
that
yes,
first step.
Captain
It's a
Nick.
doozy.
Yeah, it's a doozy. So it's written there, but how many people actually read that or that soaks into their brain? Probably close to zero. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Well, and
yeah, they just you sit down, slide down, and it's a nice curved path to the ground.
I think there
if you
might be
go-
more to that one, because it says there was a non-rev flight attendant on the wing with them who helped them back into the airplane. So maybe they had some sort of inability to, mobility issue.
Oh, could be. Yeah, it could be.
It says they were
mobility
unable
issues.
to jump from the wing.
Oh,
But hang on a
okay.
minute. They're supposed to be ABPs if they're in that row, aren't they?
Or-
Able-bodied
well, then-
persons.
The ones that are sitting there, but maybe several others behind them went out that exit,
Oh, could
and
be, I
maybe they
guess,
weren't able-bodied. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
But I mean, if the airplane's on fire and with all that smoke, come on, guys.
Then that flight attendant's pushing them down.
Yeah,
It's going to
exactly.
happen, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Oh yeah. Could get
Yeah.
run over by that tail cone.
So the first thing, when you have smoke and fumes, is oxygen on 100% and crew communications established. Sounds like, and every time this happens, and Captain Nick and I know this from many, many times in the simulator where we do these scenarios where you got to put the mask on and you got to establish crew communications. And it's usually the most difficult part of that checklist is establishing communications, because you're not used to using the microphone and the mask and setting up your interphone panel, because it's different. It's something you're not used to doing. And it's very easy to not be able to talk to. We've heard incidents here talking on the show, and we hear the live ATC communications, and they're going they're trying to talk to the flight that's having this issue, and they can't hear them, and it's because they don't have their panel configured properly. And the same thing goes with talking on the interphone. I thought it was interesting, as they said that the first officer grabbed the handset to communicate with the flight attendant. He didn't use his oxygen. So to me, that means he had to take his oxygen mask off to use the handset, right? I mean, am I jumping to conclusions
I
here?
guess he might have tried to bellow through his mask into the, which might also account for why the
Why they
flight attendant couldn't hear him. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a little interesting. What else did I think that was kind of interesting? If they so again, this is one of those situations. I'm not there, and I've never had a situation like this, so I can't. It's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback after these events, or Wednesday afternoon quarterback. Thank you, Liz. Good point. But if you know that, well, of course, at first they didn't know why they were getting all the smoke. So, but I always have in the back of my mind, anytime there's a lot of smoke billowing in, it's very likely it's either from the engines that in the bleed air system sucking all the smoke from the engines, or it's the actual air conditioning packs. And either way, a quick way, and I know this is not part of the checklist and it's not a quick reaction, it's not a memory item or anything else, but I've always, in my mind, I always think, okay, there's smoke. We've just taken off. We don't need to worry about pressurization. Something to think about maybe is like turning the packs off. And that could take care of your smoke problem almost immediately. Again, I'm not recommending that, but I'm saying that that's something that I think about when I hear and read about these kind of situations. And, we have something pouring in through the vents and it's smoky back there. And again, in my mind, it's either engine related or air conditioning pack oriented. And in both cases, unless I'm wrong, somebody correct me out there, turning off those air conditioning packs or closing the bleed valves or both, or it's going to take care of the situation. Now, you're not going to continue your flight because you're not going to pressurize. And of course, why would you continue your flight when you have smoke, during the takeoff roll and immediately after takeoff? You're not going to, right? You're going to come back, stay in the pattern or whatever. So that's just me thinking out loud. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
No, I like it.
you might be
It's
criticized though.
It's like when you get engine failures, one of the first things we would do is turn the APU on. Wasn't on the checklist, but the APU is there to give you the systems that might be lost when you lose an engine. So get it there and ready, fire it up.
Yeah, I mean that's
all those
what I
kind of
call
airmanship.
airmanship, or using your pilot brain, or there's all the above. Thinking about the big picture here. Why? What can I do maybe to immediately solve this problem until we go into the checklists and go through the procedure step by step. Yeah, I mean, just like Sully Sullenberger, and the loss of most power. It wasn't complete loss of power. He had a little bit, but not enough to keep that airplane flying. As Captain Nick just mentioned, boom, he just thought, okay, I need to have that APU running because that might be able to help me in the situation. And
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it did.
All right. Very good. Okay, we'll be waiting for the final report on that in the future. Okay, now it's time for our video, right, Liz? Okay, so it's a near disaster at LaGuardia. There's a plane taking off with another plane on the runway, and this is from Bass Aviation, and we're going to go ahead and put that on the stage, Liz, and then I'm going to hope that by pressing this button, the video starts. This happened on the 6th of May this year.
2657, uniform, Romeo, hold short of 13, stay with me.
Uniform, Romeo, hold short of 13. Good evening, Tower Endeavor, 4990, Benji for ILS Sport.
Flight 9, Liberty Tower, base reported at 250 feet, 10709, runway 4, clear to land, traffic departs 13.
Clear to land, runway 4 Endeavor, 4990.
LaGuardia, good evening. Frontier Flight 3288 with you, ILS 4.
For the 3288, go to your tower, number 4, you're following an RJ about 5 miles in trail. Base is reported at 250 feet, 10709, runway 4, clear to land, traffic will depart 13.
Clear to land, runway 4, Frontier Flight 3288.
Okay, I paused it for a moment here. They're using runway. This is the typical setup at LaGuardia, 2 runways. They typically will use one runway for takeoff and one runway for landings, unless the winds are such where they have to use the same runway for both, and then that really jacks things up there. But this is the normal configuration. In this case, they're using runway 4 for landing, and they're using runway 13 for takeoff.
Now 2657, you're going to turn left onto runway 13, then taxi down 13, go to ground point 7.
Okay, let's turn on runway 13 and we'll go ground point 7 to 9.6. 4736, monitor tower, gonna. Oh, tower, be careful, 36.
And they're about to take off.
Monitor tower, gonna. Oh, tower, Delta 925. United 2657. You could actually make this quick right turn at Sierra, and then left Papa Bravo, Kilo Alpha Lane 7.
Okay, just a quick pause here. So Tower gave United the instruction to use runway 13, the takeoff runway, to travel to taxi on and then take a certain exit and then go basically right to their parking area. But then when he switched over to ground control, ground thought, well, I got looks like a couple of flights that need to take off on that runway. So we're going to go ahead and get you guys off of that runway a little bit sooner. And then they gave them the instructions to take one of the first taxiway exits off of runway 13. So that could be all nice and clear for takeoffs.
Western here, Papa Bravo, Kilo Alpha.
Okay, and just another quick observation. So the United flight that's taxiing, they've landed on 4 and they're on 13, and then they're going to taxi to the gate. They're on a different frequency than the two jets or the jet that's about to be given takeoff clearance. So that's one of those situations again. Yeah, but I mean, in this case, I can kind of see the reason why they used ground control, because the guy was taxiing back in, even though he's still kind of sort of on an active runway. So yeah.
Circuit 4736 if you're ready, you can line up on weight 13, traffic lands runway 4.
Runway 13, line wait for here 4736.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's aware of the United.
United 2657. I want to take it down to Lima, and then right turn out for lane 7. Lima and...
Okay, Funyun. The United flight was supposed to take the first one, Sierra, and missed it. And so now he's looking at his tower window and go, oh, okay, well, you hurry up, go into the next one. And then ground front 7 or whatever he said there. All right, so.
472, right turn on Papa, join Bravo, ground point 7, good night.
Papa, ground point 7, thanks, yeah, Blue 472.
Okay, that's another one that just landed on 4.
Turn right on the Bravo Alpha.
Okay, confusion, 2657, the one that was supposed to get off the runway, who is not completely clear to the runway yet. What do you want us to do? Right on Bravo or Alpha to lane 7?
Yeah, 2657, it's going to be a right turn Alpha lane 7.
Good evening again, Fairbanks 1940 with you, ILS runway 04.
Clear takeoff runway 13, Brickyard 4736.
Okay, so Brickyard has been cleared for takeoff. United, according to this simulated radar ADS-B output, the United flight, the 737, is still on the runway, the one that was, the same runway that this airplane was just cleared for takeoff.
Good evening, Fairbanks 1940 with you, ILS 4.
Spirit 1940 tower number 3, following Frontier about 4.5 ahead. Winds 0609er.
Okay, there was an automated alert in the background during that radio call. It was kind of hard to hear, but there was some kind of an automated system that said, hey, guys, look out the window. There are a couple airplanes on that runway, and this could be a bad situation.
Okay, number 3, standing by landing clearance, and we got moderate rain during the previous approach. How's the visibility now?
Okay, so you can kind of hear one of the tower controllers is saying stop, and the other person is giving a weather report.
Circuit 4736, stop.
2657, expedite off, please.
Correct, 2657. Brickyard 4736, stop, bridge exit, takeoff 13.
Circuit 4736, sorry about that. I thought United had cleared well before that. Just stay there for a moment, and I got to get the other United out of the way. We'll get you off the runway.
Hold, Brickyard 4736.
Okay, so that's, in a nutshell, the incident. And, the air traffic controller admitted, I thought that he had already cleared the runway. And which makes me wonder, well, okay, you're the controller and you're responsible for giving airplanes takeoff clearance. I mean, why didn't you look to make sure there wasn't still an airplane on the runway before you gave that clearance?
I have another question in conjunction with that. Why didn't Brickyard look out the windshield?
That's
a very
another good question. Yeah. Because honestly, that should have been kind of obvious, because I don't know about people out there that are listening to this show that have had experience using this runway for takeoff. And when you look down that runway, you see that what do you call it? It's like a blast fence or something like at the very end of it. And they have, big, bold red and white stripes on it and everything else. And you look at it and go, gosh, that doesn't really look that far away. And, you really should be surveying your runway that's ahead of you. So good point, AJ. I don't know why they didn't see. Now, I guess I can kind of give them a break. They didn't really hear the communications going on in the other frequency. Obviously, they're on tower frequency, not ground frequency. So that kind of contributes to this lack of information here. But use your eyeballs, make sure that the runway's clear.
A building-sized object on the runway you're taking off on would be something I would want to notice.
I mean, it might be that we're just seeing a little bit of lag, and he was... It could be seen turning off, but you still don't. I don't think you should, in any safe world, start a takeoff roll until he's completely cleared, just in case he has a tire problem or a brake problem or something prevents him from taxiing any further, and you're now barreling down towards him, assuming he's going to continue rolling off the runway, and he doesn't. So, in my book, you just always take the safest route, which is to wait just 10 seconds. That's all it would have taken.
And it's easy to say, Captain Nick, but it's so difficult to do, especially when you're at LaGuardia and everything has gone that it's all timed to the split second because they got another runway that's going in front of you, runway 4, and where people are landing, and then they're, so it's like, okay, as soon as they give me takeoff clearance, I mean, I probably have my engines kind of spooled up a little bit, ready for that takeoff clearance. And so chances are that airplane is going to even start leaping forward faster than it normally would because we're at LaGuardia and you got to be on your toes there. But so that just adds to the problem, I think. And a good point there. It may have looked like, oh, this is going to work out fine. I can see half the airplane is off of the runway on the taxiway, so this is going to work out. But in this case, the guy was confused, and so who knows? The captain may have almost come to a complete stop, which is dumb on the on the United's point, part. You have to be thinking about what's going on there, and somebody might be coming up your tailpipe very, very quickly if you don't get off that dang runway. And so, I mean, there's a little bit of blame, I think, to be thrown about to almost everybody involved here, but I think most of it rests with the controller in this case.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was classic, wasn't it, Liz? When
well, he thought he was being helpful.
Just when you needed the frequency clear.
Yeah. But that's one of the downsides. That's one of the negatives of radio communications. That you never know exactly. Sometimes you get this little sense like I think I can make a transmission now and I won't be stepping on anybody. But you don't. It's not 100%. So you're not quite sure. You might thinking that you're going to be, giving some helpful information to the people that are behind you on final for runway 4, giving them information about the ceiling height and the visibility and the rain and all that kind of stuff. That's good information, but if you step on the controller telling the guy to stop their takeoff roll, then that's not such a great thing. But I don't really blame them for that. But yeah, inopportune time. But Liz blames them. Okay. It's all their fault. Okay. Anything else? That was a good one. Good one to cover. It's always nice to have liveatc.net audio to hear, some of the stuff going on. Okay. I'm sorry, Liz, what? Last but not least in the news lineup for today's show is this incident up at DCA, which was not too long after the tragedy of the Army helicopter and the RJ collision and massive loss of life. And so in this case, they were using runway 19 for takeoffs and landings at DCA. And so they were basically doing the river visual approach or the RNAV approach that basically approximates flying right down the river. And a couple of the airline flights were given go-arounds because of a UH-60M Blackhawk that was operating in the area. Pat 223 was their call sign. And they were heading toward the Pentagon at the time of the incident, and they were not carrying any passengers. And then we covered this when it occurred, and it basically, they said, contact the Pentagon, and then for some reason the helicopter didn't land right away. And then, out of an abundance of caution, the air traffic controller at DCA told these flights to go around, just so that they didn't have another one of these mid-air collisions. Upon its first approach, Pat 23 initiated a go-around due to a delay in clearance from the Pentagon Tower. Now, I highlighted this because I'm thinking, Pentagon Tower? I didn't realize that there was some kind of an air traffic control facility at the Pentagon controlling these helicopters to land at the Pentagon. That was something unknown to me. So I guess they have some kind of a facility there to kind of control the people coming in and, that last portion of their flight before landing. The maneuver was executed by Pat 23 in accordance with standard procedures and communicated directly to DCA Tower. Let's see. The Army supports ongoing efforts to modernize air traffic control systems, including initiatives led by Secretary Duffy to address inconsistencies caused by legacy technologies. Okay, so basically there was something happening in that traffic pattern, if I guess they would call that, for helicopter traffic landing at the Pentagon, that caused, maybe there was somebody still on the pad, or maybe there was personnel, who knows. But whatever the situation was, the Pentagon Tower decided that it was not safe for Pat 23 to continue to the landing pad. And again, the DCA controllers are a little gun shy now because of the horrible accident not too long before this. And they went ahead and had these two flights go around.
Now, forgive me, I'm going to say something stupid here. I thought helicopters could fly real slow.
Yeah, I thought so too.
like zero forward speed slow.
Well, not necessarily zero, but, you could sort of slow your forward progress. Because I know in the hover, all sorts of problems occur with rotating air, getting sucked back in and, kicking up a lot of dust and all that stuff. But, you could probably slow, if you get enough notice, you could slow your rate of approach down to let, half the world get off the helipad. But I'm obviously not a helicopter pilot, but I know there are plenty out there. But so explain to me, why can't you just slow right down and take 5 minutes to make your approach?
Oh, something I should have mentioned in the second article that we have in this news item. Let's see, there was some kind of a glitch with lost audio. Controllers, the Pentagon Tower, there was a period of time in which the controllers lost audio and visual contact with the helicopter just moments before it was set to land. The helicopter initiated a go-around due to a delay in clearance from the Pentagon Tower. I don't know why it couldn't have just, because I think the weather was, visual conditions, why he couldn't have just slowed to, as you said, a crawl and, try to troubleshoot why we're not hearing the Pentagon Tower's audio anymore. Or maybe that's just their procedure. Like if you lose communications, just to execute that procedure. And even I think if they had, Captain Nick, I think that there was some altitude margin in the procedure, but I think it was just the DCA controllers still see this helicopter going wasn't he supposed to land? Why is he still flying? What's going on? Okay, just out of an abundance of caution, they say, okay, Delta, go around, or whatever the other one was, the Republic.
Now, I was also reading that there is supposed to be a hot line between the Pentagon and DCA that has been out of service for 3 years.
Oh man!
So now, apparently they have they're using a backup communications system, which I don't know, smacks of using your cell phone. I don't know what they're doing.
Colored paddles, I think.
Well,
yeah.
But instead of instead
It
of
says-
a hotline, but I suspect the hotline linking the controller to their counterparts at National should have been fixed a long time ago. I suspect it would make life a lot simpler for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AJ?
It's basically what I was going to say. It says that in the meantime, they were communicating over a landline, so they still had some communication.
Yeah, they did, but perhaps it's not as easy for them with their. Perhaps a
Just to pick
hotline
up.
is in their headsets and just one button. But but there you go. I don't know.
Huh. Well, yeah, I really don't know what else to say there, except that, wow, who knew there was actually a ATC facility there at the Pentagon? I didn't know that. Interesting. All right. I think now it is time for us to move to the part of the show where we get all caught up, getting to know us segment. Is that who's whistling? Is that you, Liz? So nice. Like a bird.
A bird being strangled.
All right. And he means that in the nicest way possible, I think.
Said with love.
Said with love, for sure. So the time of the show where we get all caught up. So let's see. Who would like to go? Let me make it easy. I didn't do a darn thing since the last show. So, yeah. So I sang some, and that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Go on then, AJ.
Had a successful / interesting trip up to Portland, Maine. Got to fly the Yellow Jacket up there, and learned to not turn off the avionics while in the middle of communicating with New York Center.
Isn't there a guard on that switch?
There will be after this flight. We had the conversation about that.
I love it.
We had multiple debriefs about that situation, and just to tell the story, there's a yaw damper switch that's basically directly adjacent to the avionics master switch in this airplane, which turns off all the radios, the GPS, the autopilot, all the really important stuff that you're using to talk and navigate and these kind of things.
Doesn't turn off the engines, though.
It does not turn off the engine. Nope, the engine keeps
good.
right on humming along. You still have you still have a primary flight display, so you have your altitude and airspeed, and you can still fly the airplane. You can't talk to anybody about where you should be flying the airplane or what altitude you should be flying the airplane at, especially when they're trying to tell you to change that.
It probably wasn't a very busy air traffic control sector that you were flying.
No,
through at the
not
time.
particularly. There's a space between Washington and Canada that is New York Center, and there's I don't know what, 493 different sectors in that space.
Something like that.
Yeah. We were joking before the show that there's times when you're going through those sectors, especially if you're going north to south, because those sectors are much longer east and west. They're kind of narrow north and south. So you'll get a new frequency, and when you check on that new frequency, New York Center, jet prop, blah blah blah, 270. They'll say, all right, 77 Foxtrot, Roger. Go ahead and contact New York Center on this new frequency. Literally, their hello is their goodbye. So, it was right in the beginning of that. It was when we switched from Washington to New York, and had also asked them for a change of destination, and then promptly stopped talking to anyone. So that didn't.
And they did all the work, and then you never answered them when they tried to give you the new clearance.
Yeah, and also, in addition to that, it's not like they had other airplanes that they were also trying to talk to and other things going on. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, so we had a couple of debriefs about that, and he said, I've thought about this and again and again. He goes, I've done it exactly once, and now you've done it once. He goes, neither one of us is going to do that again. It's like,
yeah,
in this airplane, you're probably correct. However, I would still say we put a guard on it. So there will be some modifications happening. But other than that, it's a great flight. Weather was kind of marginal in Portland, but not too bad once we got below the ground. Had a nice little 3-day weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, below the
That
clouds,
sounds like
close to the ground.
That's a bad situation. You don't want to be below the ground.
No. Not if you can help it.
It's a submarine base. I forgot to say that part. Yeah, and so I got to fly in a helicopter as well. My friend has a little Robinson R-22, so we went up and played with that just for a bit, and that was a good bit of fun. Had lots and lots of lobster. I think I've had my lobster quota for probably the year now, over 3 days. Yeah, and then Delta to get back home. So good old Acme.
All right.
Good job.
Make sure you don't fly any of those 717s, though. Apparently they're
I think I'm going to stick to Airbus for a while.
Yeah.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. Smart man. Smart man. All right. Very good. Glad to have you back again on 3 in a row, AJ. And now we go to Captain Nick.
Yeah. First thing is to thank Ryan Clark, who wrote in after my appeal for my friend Simon to have someone local to Pensacola to escort him and his son onto the base so they could visit the museum there. And Ryan very kindly volunteered. He's a little behind the drag curve, as AJ set Simon up with a friend of his who's going to do that, Virgil. And Simon's already been in touch. But he actually tells me that there's yet another hiccup that might prevent him from accessing the base. So this is an ongoing story. Anyway, I just wanted to thank Ryan for being there if he needed. And it was the 28th, 29th of June were the dates, Ryan, that Simon's going to be looking to get on the base. But thanks anyway for offering. For me, the bowling season's in full swing, so I'm starting to get leg cramps again for overuse of muscle, standing around for too long. And generally speaking, we've been doing all right in the club. I'm in a couple of leagues, and we're doing quite well in both of those. And I'm also in a national singles competition, and I beat my first opponent in that in round 1, so through to round 2, but I'm meeting a very well-known and good player called Jim, and we've fought each other a few times before, and I have yet to beat him. So I'm hoping that this will be the first time, but exactly. But I'm playing at home, so I might have a little bit of home advantage. So that's good. Yes, we need someone in a cheerleader uniform. That'll put him off. That'll be marvellous. On to cover art, perhaps. We had some good ideas, but most of it revolved around the DoorDash driver, Adair, who got himself onto the airport by accident. So we were suggesting he might be a blind driver. And for some reasons, we were talking about pilots in a dress. So
we were talking pilots in distress.
Oh,
not in distress.
In distress. Oh, you see, there you go.
Missed it by that.
Nearly. So I put a pilot in a dress in this picture. As opposed, well, exactly, but I think a tutu counts as a dress, doesn't it?
Does it though?
Yeah. So
okay,
we've got a pilot in a dress. So pilot in distress.
Yeah, not that
That's
dress.
so funny.
Yeah,
he's definitely in distress now. Yes. Are you in distress? Yes, man. Okay, so we got Ray Charles driving the this accounts for how it got onto the airfield. Yeah, driving the DoorDash car, and he's trying to deliver his food. And in the back of his car, yes, as Liz points out, we've got a nice fluffy jackass penguin. Well, so he makes an appearance. If you're interested in trying to find the show number, Liz will, there you go. Look on his tie, at the bottom part of his tie. There you go, 664 were the numbers you were looking for. And if you want the logo, just slide to your right, Jeff, and it's over on
Liz doing
the face of it. Oh, over on the face of his watch, Liz. Well, it's remote controlled through Jeff, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm using my mind to control the cursor.
It. So the logo is on his watch. So I quite enjoyed that.
Nice. Yeah, very well.
I particularly
well
enjoyed the pilot in the tutu.
Me too.
Yeah. So did he.
Yeah. A nice breezy kind of like, feels good.
Exactly. No, I'm going to have to stand up now because my leg's cramped and I have to go for a quick walk.
So stand up. And I think, AJ, you're aware that there are a couple of Mainers in our live audience who are taking offense to the fact that you did not contact them while you were up there.
I did say it on the last show in my defense, but I was just telling Marin that I kind of assumed that Maine is, this massive state, and the odds of anyone being close to where I was going to be in this tiny little town were, outside my luck probability, and it turns out he's actually right up the street.
Yeah, he's in Portland. I'm not sure about Maine Marin, though. I think he's a little bit further away. Or no, never mind. No, he's really close too.
Yeah.
Forget it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm thorough. At least there's that.
Equal opportunity offender for sure. Yeah.
Well,
he'll know better next time.
I should be up there again. So we'll definitely have to meet up for a lobster roll and some Allagash White.
Yum. Okay. Very good. Yeah, let's do the Coffee Fund music from the Jeff Smith.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh, yeah. It's a coffee fund. It's your way to support us financially if you have the resources to do so and you feel like it. But, this is a pre-show. We do it out of a labor of love. And but there are people out there that want to give us a shekel or two or whatever currency that you deal with. And we have a couple of different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic method. And it's basically a PayPal one or two off kind of thing, although we do have a handful of people that use it as a recurring contribution mechanism, and we do appreciate that. Thank you, all of you who are using the Coffee Fund Classic method to support us financially. And we also are on Patreon. In fact, we were one of the first podcasts to use Patreon a long time ago. And we have several patrons there, and we do thank them for their continued support. And if you want to learn about how you can become a patron of the show or just join the Coffee Bar Club in general, you can head over to the website, airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. I try. Just ask anybody that knows me. I'm trying. Okay. We can probably knock out most of it, I would imagine.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
I'm back.
All right. All right. Welcome back. And you're just in time now for some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, we're going to start with this from Shane. Oh, you'll remember that in an earlier episode, I forget which one it was, a few episodes back, I talked about, or we were talking about the British Aerospace, the BAE 146. And I mentioned while we were, I can't remember exactly why we were talking about this, but anyway, it reminded me of my experience on that jet, flying from Atlanta down to somewhere on the Gulf Coast, I think, on one of our regional affiliates. And I remember hearing this horrible noise, and that was associated with the flaps extending or retracting or both, I don't know. And I thought, well, maybe I'm crazy because nobody seemed to share that experience. And but a couple of our listeners did. So Shane was the first one, and he said, "Good day, Captain Jeff and the APG crew." I'm taking a cue from Nigel, the most what do I call him? The prominent? No, not prominent. Not
Prolific?
promiscuous, although that would be a good one.
Prolific?
The most, no, not prolific. The most prestigious of them all. There we go. Hong Kong Nigel. Anyway, he likes to call me Captain Jiff. I like that. It's one of my favorite peanut butters. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I've been a listener since my first trip to Oshkosh in 2016 when I spotted someone wearing an Acme Airlines T-shirt. I thought, I'd never heard of that airline, so I Googled it, and the rest is history. Or, sorry, Shane. I just wanted to comment on what you said about flying on the BAE 146 Whisper jet, or as we affectionately called it, the Whimper jet, or Skoda of the skies. Or isn't that the Russian car, the Skoda? Okay.
Yeah, he's not very complimentary, is he?
Or the Quadrupef. Yeah, because it's a high wing very small jet
It's
engine.
got helicopter engines.
Aircraft.
I think they're Garretts
Helicopter
or something.
engines. Yeah,
It does,
APUs.
literally. Yeah.
Oh, the
serious.
APU engines. Okay. I worked on these as a lame. Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sure you're better than. Oh, wait. What does that stand for? I forgot what the L stands for. Aviation maintenance.
Licensed?
Mechanic. Licensed aviation mechanic engineer. Mechanical engineer, maybe? I don't know. Help us out. Somebody do a search while I'm continuing to read this. He worked on these as a lame in the late 90s and early 2000s for Ansett New Zealand and later Qantas New Zealand before they went broke. I can confirm the noise you heard, which was caused by an opening in the Kármán fairings on the flap to fuselage junction. I knew it. There was an acoustic flap fitted to try and fix this, but it broke quite easily, and we were forever fixing them as the cabin crew would write up a defect as it was pretty loud in the cabin. I loved working on the 146. It was pretty easy to work on, and I managed to fly the sim a few times as well. So I can confirm what Captain Nick said, it being very pitch sensitive compared to the ailerons. Both, let's see, so the pitch compared to the banking, the pitch was much more sensitive. Thank you, roll. Compared to the ailerons were both aerodynamically powered rather than hydraulically powered. I think I butchered that sentence, but I think what he's trying to say is, you're right, Captain Nick. It was a kind of a weird setup as far as sensitivity in pitch and roll.
Yeah,
So-
well, that's what I found.
And
Okay.
By the way, yeah,
I found
Okay,
maintenance
good.
engineer.
Licensed
lame is an
aviation-
AME with a license.
Okay, licensed aviation maintenance engineer. All right.
Close
Yay,
enough.
Ding. Yeah, we nailed it. Got it the first time, or the fifth time. A little bit about myself. This is Shane talking again in the feedback. I learned to fly in the 80s. I was fortunate to have a dad that was a CFI, and he sent me off on my first solo before joining the Air Force. Not being deemed suitable for Air Force pilot training, I became an engineer instead. Incidentally, Nick, did you ever, I guess he was smarter than the pilots. Incidentally, Nick, did you ever fly the F-18 into Royal New Zealand Air Force Woodburn on your trip to NZ? I seem to recall working in the line, marshalling in some Aussie F-18s in the late 80s or early 90s, and one of the pilots was from Pomgolia. It was a Pom.
Very good.
A Pomgolia. I've never heard that phrase.
No, the first time I've
word.
heard of that
Yeah, it's
particular
funny.
insult.
Was it you? Did you ever fly the
No,
F-18
I'm
in the-
afraid not. No, I went to Oaxaca a few times, but never got anywhere else. So no, it was probably the guy that took over from me, who we called Stilts because he was very tall. So there you go. That was
If
him.
Nick is calling someone stilts, that's saying
Very
something.
tall. And he flew F-18s? Didn't you
Well,
have
yeah,
some kind of a
there's
It's a
height
special model. It had an extra
restriction?
bubble.
Well, that's
Yeah.
how he ended up on the F-18. He was. They discovered he was too tall while he was flying the Phantom, so he was promptly grounded. And it was only when they discovered that there was no formal height limit for the F-18 did they go, oh, well, we'll send you to Australia and go fly the F-18. Apparently, you could be as tall as you like.
They didn't figure it out when you could see his knees sticking up in the canopy.
Apparently not.
It's supposed to be like that.
I mean, it was a good machine for ergonomics and stuff. So there was plenty of room in there. So yeah,
Cool.
Not as big as an F-15, but then again, that thing's the size of a tennis court. So.
Yeah, it's big. All right, Shane continues. I currently work for an airline here in NZ. Let's call it, he keeps spelling it out, NZED. It's just so I do it correctly. I currently work for an airline here in NZ. Let's call it Coruair. I still fly for leisure, and I'm currently restoring our Taylorcraft BC-12D with my son Sam, who also works for Coruair. Oh, I think I know what that is. Okay. Anyway, thanks for all you do, and thanks for curing the insomnia that I suffered from after many years of working the night shift. Kind regards, SG. Again, that was Shane. Thank you for sending that in and confirming that horrible noise that I wasn't imagining.
Is that a left-handed compliment there? Curing his insomnia?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I'm used to it. I put people to sleep. I accepted that. And let's continue on with this, also dealing with the BAE 146 noise. This is from Paul Baderman. Hi, Captain Jeff and the gang. I'm one of your fairly new listeners from the UK, and absolutely love tuning into the podcast and listening to the back catalog whenever I can. My ears pricked up when you mentioned in APG 660 the other week that you recalled a funny aerodynamic noise coming from the flaps of the BAE 146. Well, I can tell you, you are not alone, and your memory, at least in this instance, is not failing you. Many moons ago, early 90s, I took a flight from London to Jersey in the Channel Islands on the so-called Whisper jet, the BAE 146. I had recently passed my private pilot license, PPL, flying the lovely Grumman Cheetah AA-5, so thought I knew a thing or two about aviation. What I did not expect was shortly after takeoff on the 146, as the flaps were being retracted, there was a horrific aerodynamic noise coming from the wing that grew louder and louder, and with increasing pitch too. It sounded like how a plane crash sounds in movies. And I thought for a horrible few seconds, it was game over. Then, as quickly as it started, the sound disappeared. Obviously totally normal for the crew, but would have been nice for us passengers to be forewarned of this rather unusual and worrying noise. The same noise, of course, happened again on approach into Jersey when the flaps came out, and naturally twice more on the way home. Although by then I was a veteran 146 passenger and took it in my stride. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing, any side up. Well, okay. Thanks. Yeah, we try to keep the blue side up.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm not everybody here. Thanks and regards from the UK. Thank you, Paul Baderman in London, UK. Very nice. Good. I'm glad that that was confirmed by a couple of our community members, that I'm not completely losing my mind. Only partially, I think.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
good
not
job.
on this one. Thank you. Joe sent in some feedback. Speaking of the earlier feedbacker there, Shane, I think, in the NZ, mentioned, or asked if Captain Nick had ever flown in there. Well, Captain Nick comes into the feedback again with this from Joe. He said, I'm a longtime listener and a highly infrequent feedback contributor, once or twice many years ago. I'm in the Royal Australian Air Force and was sitting down for lunch in a crew room at RAAF base. I think I put too many A's in there. RAAF base Amberley last year when I began flicking through a magazine on the table. Would you believe a 2-page spread on Nick Anderson's career in the RAF and the RAAF? And bonus, it was the centerfold. No, I'm sorry, I added that part.
Yeah, well, You know, I've got a car that goes topless now, so
I added that part about the centerfold. Okay, so 2-page spread on Nick Anderson's career in the RAF and RAAF. I wish I could remember the specifics, and even more, I wish I'd pinched the magazine to send to Captain Nick as a keepsake. I do recall it being a very positive article, so no surprises there for the old curmudgeon. I just wanted to pass that on to Nick. I'm sure he has many legacies, and one of them is still felt over here in Australia. That's nice. He is a man of legend for sure. On a separate note,
I knew nothing about the article. No, absolutely not. So I don't know which magazine it was, but if it was in Amberley, that was full of bomber pilots, you know, F-111 bomber pukes. So it could have been Bomber Weekly or I don't know, something like that.
Need to reach out, get your royalties.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I need to find out.
I had an article when I was in the U.S. Air Force.
Well, no, that was a safety report, Jeff.
No, it was Article 15, which is a legal.
Oh, that's same difference.
Just kidding. I did not receive an Article 15 while I was in the Air Force or thereafter.
Now, isn't that funny? If you did a heavy landing in an Airbus A340, it used to spit out a Report 15. I wonder if that was the reason.
Could be. Yeah, it was a bad thing. Article 15 was, you were part of the jurisprudence of the military. Yeah. I guess same with the landing. Although the Article 15 had career implications.
And new assignments to places like forts, like Leavenworth.
Or maybe. Depends on how bad you were. Or a remote assignment to Shemya up in the Bering Straits. Okay, so Joe says, thanks for your dedication to the show. I miss the Ricketts. Yeah, we do too. Regards to everyone on the show and in the community, Joe. All right, thanks, Joe.
Cheers, Joe.
Appreciate that. You should have pinched that magazine. That would have been kind of cool to see. You'll remember a few episodes back. I know a lot of this feedback has been with us for a while, so we're kind of catching up on today's show. Lee sent us, Lee Ogg, OGG, sent us a very nice contribution to the Coffee Bar Club, the Coffee Fund. And we, I think Liz, I think, or somebody mentioned, Ogg I wonder if, was it you, Liz? Right. Yeah, because Ogg is definitely not a common name, and she wondered if Lee might be of some relation to Captain Ogg. And so we got this from Lee, and he said, "Good day, Captain Jeff. Quick note to thank you and the gang for your feedback to my feedback. I am no relation to Captain Ogg, and I loved your research into the name. I know Captain Morgan quite well, but many do, I think. Cheers."
Very good. Yeah, I like a bit of rum.
A little bit of rum. Yeah.
Rum, bum, and Becky.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. Captain Ogg was the guy that was, they ditched the, what was it, a DC-4 or something like that? Some big 4-engined airplane that had to ditch in the Pacific Ocean.
No, it was, the big bubble fuselage thing.
Which one was that?
Damn it. Yeah, okay. I can't remember in a second.
Yeah, I can't either. But it was a big airplane. And I think the only fatalities were the animals that were in the cargo hold. Okay, let's continue on. This with Kevin. He's up there in Comox, BC, on the beautiful Vancouver Island. The snowbirds.
It was a Strato cruiser.
A Strato cruiser. Okay.
Boeing 377 Strato cruiser.
Was that I think it was KC-96 in the Air Force
I thought that was the
configuration.
That was not the civilian version of the B-29?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, it was called Sovereign of the Skies, which was also the title of the plane tower.
Oh, cool. Nice. All right, well, getting back with Kevin and Vancouver Island, and he sent us a link to an article from the timescolonist.com, And he says, finally, it's only been sitting here on base for 3 years. The military bought it, and we're not happy with it. Not sure what happened now. Maybe DJT pressure, the Department of what? What is that? Oh, Donald John Trump pressure. Well, okay, we'll see. I don't know. So this article talks about what is he talking about? First of Kingfisher search and rescue aircraft in service, Victoria Times columnist. And good looking airplane. I think that you would agree. A bright yellow color with a nice Canada logo on it. The medium. Yeah, Steph could have a ball with that airplane. She could dump hundreds out of that. So it looks pretty big.
We talking about parachuting still?
I think so. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Sorry if it sounded like something else. My bad. The media. That's why you should listen, Dr. Steph, to the show, just to hear all the horrible things that I accidentally say. So let's see. The article says the medium-range plane is equipped with sensors capable of spotting people and objects from more than 40 kilometers away and has already been used to look for missing boaters.
That's cheating. I can see the moon, and that's a lot further than 40 kilometers.
I was going to say sensors that, you mean like eyeballs and windows?
So you're poo-pooing this aircraft's capabilities, apparently. Okay.
I'm just saying it's overqualified.
Okay. Overhyped, perhaps. The first of the Canadian military's long-awaited new search and rescue aircraft is now on call in BC. The fixed-wing CC-295 Kingfisher officially took to the skies on Thursday. This was a little while ago. But the medium-range plane, which is equipped with sensors, okay, we talked about that, has already been used to search for missing boaters in Finlayson Arm 2 weeks ago and near Port Alberni in March.
Is that a pub? Is that a pub, the Finlayson Arms? Have you seen Joe? He's down in the Finlayson Arms having a beer.
That's only one arm. Only one arm.
Well,
okay.
And they're using it to find boaters? So, I mean, somebody had to find their shoes that bad? Or is that the hats?
Wow. Okay.
We're having too much fun.
And that deserves this kind of laugh.
Yeah, enough.
Okay, the first Kingfisher based at 19-wing Comox has reached SAR alert status, which means the Air Force will have the plane with trained crew ready to respond to emergencies on the West Coast and across BC and the Yukon. The planes will receive tasking orders from the Joint Rescue Coordination Center in Victoria. Ordered nearly a decade ago, the twin propeller planes replaced Canada's aging fleet of Buffalo search and rescue aircraft. Canadians should feel assured that as of Thursday, a fully capable and crewed CC-295 Kingfisher will be available 24/7, 365 throughout Canada's western. Well, I wouldn't, Liz, I wouldn't feel too assured because you don't live out that way. So it's going to be available 24/7, 365 throughout Canada's western territories and waters to support SAR activities. $2.4 billion contract for 16 new Kingfisher aircraft was awarded to Airbus in late 2016. Yeah, with costs covering 11 years. Let's see, 16, 26, 27. Yeah, just a couple years left in that. The first 6 years were for acquisition, transition, and setup, and the following 5 were for in-service support with an option to extend the contract by another 15 years up to 2042. Okay. The initial deal with Airbus included a new training facility plus $2.3 billion to maintain the planes for 15 years. That's a lot of money. Wow. That's a lot. Each of the Kingfisher planes is crewed by 6 personnel with several on the ground for support. Let's see. Once the planes are given the green light in Comox, the other Kingfishers are expected to be rolled out at 14-wing Greenwood in Nova Scotia, 17-wing Winnipeg, and 8-wing in Trenton, Ontario. So that's a little bit closer to where you are, Liz. 5 are expected to be operational this year and in 2026. Okay, so there's more information there about all the capabilities of this thing in this what remains of this article. So we'll have that in the show notes. So thank you very much.
It's not really
Kevin.
an Airbus, by the way.
It's
It
not?
was actually built by the Spanish. It's by CASA. And CASA is now part of the Airbus Defence and Space Division.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it didn't really look much like any Airbus that I'd seen before, but now that makes sense. Kind of looks a lot like, is that the same company that makes the ATR? Are they part of that conglomerate? Or is that a different company?
ATR, I think they're a British company.
Kind of looks like several companies made different parts of it.
Yeah, it does. And it's not a compliment. Well, speaking of Frankenstein in reverse, dismantling an airplane, this next piece of feedback also from Kevin Dryden. He loves the Mars flying boats, the Martin Mars, and I do too. And he knows that. That's why he sends these in to me. I wish I had some X-rated music and I could talk about the fact that this airplane has been stripped right down.
Sorry, Jeff.
Trip.
The ATR is actually French. French.
I was thinking British. I don't think so. Aerospatiale des.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not CASA, not Spanish. Okay. No. We'll have a picture of the Martin Mars. It doesn't, in this picture that we're looking at, it doesn't really look like an airplane at all because the wings are off and the tails. It just looks like a big hulk of something being so it flew in and landed on that lake that you see in the background of this photo, I'm assuming, and they are going to now transport it via surface transportation in this configuration with no wings to the museum in I think it's near Phoenix, isn't it, the museum? I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly, I think that's correct, near Phoenix.
Okay. Well, thanks, Kevin, for that update as well. We have some audio feedback, believe it or not. This from Lindsay. And I believe, Lindsay, we met at a meetup in Chicago several years ago, and that was a lot of fun. And she sent this in. Love the podcast. Here's some voice feedback regarding an interesting take on aviation and flight deck dynamics brought to you by the weird, funny, and smart mind of Nathan Fielder. Thanks for the great podcast, Lindsay from Chicago. So take it away, Lindsay.
Greetings to the APG crew. This is Lindsay McNeil from Chicago. I think this is my third time providing feedback. The last time I provided feedback, I had asked for a top 10 list of episodes to keep me company while I was on maternity leave with my son Ian when he was a newborn, and now he is 2 years old, so it's been a while. But I wanted to recommend something I think is a bit unexpected. It's actually the new season of a TV show called The Rehearsal. It's on HBO Max, and it's directed, written, and produced and stars Nathan Fielder. If you know anything about him, he's kind of a unique, creative artist and comedian. But this season centers entirely on aviation. It has a strong focus on cockpit dynamics, particularly the nuanced and sometimes tense interactions between captains and first officers. It delves into a lot of themes like authority gradients, CRM breakdowns, and even how those small miscommunications in the cockpit can have serious consequences. What's really fascinating is how the show blends rehearsal-based recreation with psychological insight to explore how pilots navigate hierarchy, trust, and decision-making under pressure. It's part flight training, part character study, and all very on brand for anyone who's spent time, I think, on a flight deck. It's also quite funny and uncomfortable type of humor, which some people I know stay away from, but I think the way that it's been put together is really fascinating. So we'd love to hear what the crew thinks if any of you end up watching it. Thanks again for the great podcast, and talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Lindsay. Anybody here on the crew, on the panel today? Any experience watching the rehearsal?
Nobody
Adrian?
told me there was homework.
No,
I know.
We can't. We don't get HBO Max. At least I don't pay for it. So
I used to get it. I was watching the White Lotus series, and then I decided there was nothing else for me to watch. I was wrong, apparently, and I canceled it. So when I fire the thing back up again, I'll have to check out the rehearsal. She mentioned Nathan Fielder. He's a Canadian comedian, actor, writer, director, producer, and pilot. He's known for his awkward persona and involvement in works blurring reality and perception. This is from the Wikipedia article on him. He, as Liz was saying when we were listening to Lindsay's audio feedback, he is definitely a Canadian comedian and pilot, and those are all good things, I think. Yeah. So
cool.
Let's see. Well, I'll go ahead and try to remember to put the link. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and copy it right now to the link to that Wikipedia article, and I'm going to paste it into the show note for this. So thank you, Lindsay, for sending that in. And yeah, speaking. Oh, what happened here? There's so many Canadians sending us feedback. I know they are. Okay. Let's see. So what's this? Roberta in Victoria. Hi, Jeff. Still enjoying discovering unusual things on Flight Radar 24. I especially like trying to figure out what has happened when something appears to go wrong. Here is I saw this Mayday squawk on Flight Radar 24 today, and I wonder what you make of it. What do you think happened? Are you familiar with the airline or airports? Okay, I'm going to scroll down here and take a look at this image. Let's see. What airline is this? Rosia? Or no, I can't. It's in Russian. I can't read the name on the livery of that jet. But they're going from let me get ready. Blagovishchensk to Yushno-Sahalinsk. Nailed it.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
Good job.
Nailed it.
Jeff. Good
Thank
job.
you. That just kind of rolls off the tongue, actually. And the aircraft is the Sukhoi Superjet 100-95B. And, okay, so they're, it looks like somewhere in the mainland to an island off of out in the Pacific, the Kamchatka Peninsula, or very close to it. Yeah, I think you're right, Liz. Not sure if that's like a regular settlement or a military facility or whatever. I'm not sure. You know what? I think I know why Roberta sent this in, because she loves hearing me try to pronounce words like name places and names from different places around the world. I don't think I let her down either in this case. Yeah, thanks, Roberta. Appreciate that. I don't really think she cares about
FIR was it in, Jeff?
Which one? Which one of these images am I supposed to be looking at?
Well, I'll save you. It was in
Karabosk. What? Say it again.
We used to fly over that on our way down to Tokyo. So when we came over Karabosk, we would just turn right a bit down to Tokyo. But so I know that bit of Russia quite well.
Oh. It looks like it was squawking 7,700, so they must have been having some kind of an issue. Maybe the issue was that they couldn't figure out how to pronounce the name of the airport that they were headed to.
Where are we going? Oh.
Wow. Well, thanks, Roberta. Appreciate the tongue twister. Those Canadians. I love them. Okay. Everybody's a Canadian and everybody's a comedian. Yeah. A Canadian comedian. Hard for me to say that. Hard for me to say a lot of things, I think. This next piece of feedback from Justin, smoking or non-smoking? Captain Jeff, I have only recently found your podcast and have been trying to catch up on the years I've missed during my daily commutes to and from my office. The old APG syndrome. Although I'm not a pilot, I have been a frequent flyer since about 6 weeks old. My mother worked for American Airlines from 1969 until she retired in 1994, primarily in air cargo, baggage claim, and at the ticket counter, all at DCA. My second father, my father passed in 1990, and eventually my mother remarried a widower and close family friend, so I never considered him the usual stepfather. He worked for American Airlines from 1948 until 1992. He spent his career in airport operations, starting on the ramp at LaGuardia and progressing to operations manager at DCA, Washington National. He said it was not Reagan National at the time. Yeah, it was before they named it or renamed it. And then retiring after being the general manager at Jacksonville Airport, JAX, down in Florida. I'm a frequent flyer and have been an aviation enthusiast for my whole life. I had the opportunity in 2009 to sit in the right seat and take the controls of a P-3 Orion when I was stationed at Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti. Lemonnier? Am I saying that right? I don't know if that's the way the Africans would. Okay, sure, why not? I served 22 years in the Navy and retired. 22 years in the Navy and retired as a Chief Petty Officer in 2016. Wow, that needs this applause. That's awesome. Good for you. Thank you for your service, sir. Currently working as a civil servant for the Department of the Navy. Okay, so he's still at it. Oh, double dipping. Good for you. I spent a lot of time watching air disaster I really, I'm pausing his feedback here. I really envied those civil servants I worked in wing safety at my air training command base. And these really great guys that worked in the office and probably did a bulk of the work. They were civil servants, like G12s, G10s. I forgot exactly what their classification was, but they made a very decent salary, and they got a lot of time off and vacation time, and they got to keep it. It kind of kept accumulating over their careers. And then some of these people, they could, basically retire from their jobs as civil servants like 2 years before, their actual retirement date because of all the sick leave and vacation time and everything else that they carried over from year to year. And I thought, man, why can't we do that? Yeah, because you're not a civil servant. You're a military person. That's why, Jeff.
You're an uncivil servant.
Uncivil, yes, that's for sure. So anyway, he continues, I spent a lot of time watching air disaster documentaries, much to my wife's chagrin, and always choose a window seat when flying. I've learned to glance out the window before takeoff to ensure that the flaps are extended and that the aircraft is configured for takeoff. I remember the Northwest Airlines flight from Detroit that didn't achieve lift because of the pilots forgetting to ensure the checklist was complete. Yeah, I believe that was a Mad Dog. However, after watching many episodes of air disasters, I've always wondered, was there ever an aircraft accident as a result of smoking on board? I know that it was outlawed by the FAA in the late 80s or early 90s. I remember smoking on an international flight in 91 or 92, and I think that was the last time I ever flew where smoking was allowed on board, but that was done for health reasons. Yeah, and also because it was just getting so hard to clean that area outside the outflow valve at the tail of the aircraft because it's like just covered in soot from all that tar. Literally, it really was bad. When you looked at that and you go, ooh, all that stuff's going into people's lungs. Anyway, continuing with his feedback. So since the APG crew has experience flying during the golden age of aviation, 1960 to 1990, where people dressed appropriately enough to be seated in close quarters, no large hairy guys in tank tops or other parts unnecessarily exposed. Yeah, he feels the same way we do, I think. And checked baggage and a meal was included in the ticket price. Perhaps you could shed some light on whether or not a cigarette ever brought down an aircraft, or perhaps a close call. Thank you for providing such an interesting and informative podcast. I sincerely enjoy every episode that I can listen to as I sit in DC traffic for 2 hours each way every day. Oh my gosh.
Ew.
Justin, man, that's dedication to your job.
Well,
and
in his defense, I wouldn't want to live in downtown DC either.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess it's maybe worth it. Yeah. Emergency management specialist for the Department of the Navy. Wow. So, Liz, did you pick these out yourself, or did he suggest these? Okay, so our crack research staff, and when I say crack, yeah, she's on crack. It came up with a couple of items that may be related to smoking, like cigarette smoking on board an aircraft. Although I think that you would find that the official investigation results were kind of ruled it out. But one well-documented example is the 1973 crash of Varig, it's a Brazilian airline, Flight 820, where a lavatory fire caused by a cigarette. Okay, this one actually did happen. Okay, a lavatory fire caused by a cigarette led to a crash landing and 123 deaths, according to Wikipedia. And then also in 2016, Al Jazeera reported a 134-page investigation document suggested that a pilot smoking a cigarette in the cockpit caused the crash of Egypt Air Flight 804. But as I said, I think even relatively recently we talked about this. Yeah, we did. And I think that I think Egypt's, the Egyptian civil aviation
reports.
Yeah, that one there's some politics involved here and national pride and that kind of thing. And Egypt's Civil Aviation Authority, I think, were the ones thinking that it had something to do with a bomb, right? And then the French investigatory agency, BEA, disagreed with this conclusion, instead finding that the fire was most likely a result of a fault in an oxygen mask. Then, of course, what exactly caused the ignition, right? You need an ignition source. So I don't know. We're going to have the links to these accidents in our show notes. But yeah, you can be the judge. One of the things I thought was interesting was one of these that was linked in this show note, and it involved I'm scrolling down here. Let's see. I'm getting close here. Not Varig Flight 820. There was an aircraft disappearance, and to this day, they don't know where the airplane went. And we're not talking about MH370, the 777 that in recent time disappeared, and it's still a mystery. Let's see, what was it? Which one was this? Okay, Varig and the Brazilian airline. I don't think they're a thing anymore, are they? I think they went out of business. Varig Flight 967 was an international cargo flight from Narita International Airport in Japan to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, with a stopover at Los Angeles International Airport. On 30 January 1979, the Boeing 707-323C serving the flight disappeared while en route. Neither the aircraft or its 6 crew members have ever been found. And I think it crashed over at the Pacific.
There's no actual evidence that it was because of someone smoking in the toilet, though.
No.
I mean, it could have been a fire, but likelihood was it was cargo related, if it's a cargo flight.
Yeah, I think it was just listed. Maybe they listed it in this search because they thought maybe this had, this possibly, as you say, maybe. Yeah. But I just thought it was really interesting that I guess this is, the MH370 is not the first time in aviation history where airplanes have just gone completely missing and still a mystery.
No. And there's Amelia Earhart, of course.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one. I was just going to mention the Varig one because, she probably was. Because that one they were pretty sure was a fire in the toilet in the waste disposal area, so someone's cigarette. And that actually led to the FAA issuing an AD which required the installation of placards prohibiting smoking in the lavatory and disposal of cigarettes in the lavatory waste receptacle, and the establishment of a procedure to announce to the occupants that smoking is prohibited. So that was
Not
the first
allowed.
kind of real legislation that was there to try and prevent this specific danger. And of course, subsequent to that, then specialist little halon extinguishers were put in all the rubbish bins in toilets. So if someone did manage to ignite all the hand towels and things that were in the rubbish bin, then hopefully that extinguisher, that specific extinguisher, would put it out. And of course, the ones you don't hear about are when a fire or smoke has been spotted by the cabin crew. It might have been put out by the extinguisher, or the cabin crew may have gone in there and fought it. But that's not the sort of thing that you will necessarily find out about. So there could have been a lot more occasions where the aircraft was potentially saved by the legislation that was brought in following that Varig tragedy, where the aircraft crashed into they force landed it really into an onion field. But killed an awful lot of their passengers. In fact, I was reading it. 11 survived. 10 of them were crew members. So only one passenger got out. All the crew got well, a lot of the crew got out, but only one passenger. And he put his survival down to the fact that he ignored the instructions to stay in his seat.
Right. He said, "The hell with that! I'm going to go up there near as far as I can forward," and that saved his life.
Yeah. So
was that the DC-9?
I think it was a 707, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Let me just double check.
Okay. I know that one of the flights that we have listed here definitely was a lavatory fire.
Yeah, it was a 707-320.
Okay. One of the things that we have listed here, Liz put in here, was this Air Canada Flight 797 DC-9-32, going from, let's say it was going from Dallas-Fort Worth to Montreal with a stop at Toronto Pearson, but I guess they diverted to Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International. And I guess they kind of blew off. I mean, there was a report that there was a fire in the lavatory, and I think the captain concluded that it was something to do with the trash bin, right? But it wasn't exactly that. There was something else going on, and it was a wiring thing or something. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. Oh, is he impressed with my linguistic skills? Hang on.
Yeah, they're very funny. Very amusing linguistic skills.
I'm trying to. Why can't I find the window with everybody?
You're a cunning linguist.
I am a cunning linguist for sure. That Rosetta Stone really paid off for Jeff. Thank you. Worth every. Justin's commute in D.C., the emergency would likely be over by the time he gets to work.
Maybe this is all part of his plan.
Yeah. Okay, good comments from our, people listening to the audio only. You should, it was one of these days, check out our live recording. We are on YouTube, and Liz puts out notices regarding when we're planning on doing the live show. And
are they warning notices?
Warning notices. Quite a cast of cast of characters that are in the chat room every week, and they're great. All right, thank you.
The downside is they do have to look at us too. So
yeah, well, you can always just close that window and just have the chat open. Maybe, I don't know.
But then they'll understand why you have trouble with some of these feedbacks, is because Nick and I are in the background making faces at you.
Yeah, well, I thought that's just the way you look normally, so I didn't know you were making faces at me. Okay,
Right.
let's
Crack
continue
on.
then. 13. Okay, this is an easy one, quick one. We're not going to play the video, but in an earlier show, we talked about the communications issues with JFK ground control and an ANA flight, and where he was using improper terminology when he said, you're on request, and the ANA pilots didn't understand exactly what the heck that meant, and it was a back and forth, and near Ben Dov in Israel sent in the actual link to the audio of this incident. So we'll have that in our show notes. Thank you, Nir. Appreciate that.
I'm looking at the picture on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't suppose we've got it available to put up, but that ANA aircraft there, 777 or something, does it say the perspiration of Japan on the side? Is that what the logo is?
No, it says inspiration.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Almost.
Must be my eyes.
That particular flight, though, was probably...
There was probably a lot of perspiration on that flight.
Yeah.
What does he want?
Yeah. So you mean we can taxi on our own? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
Yeah, that was a good one on their part. Oh, okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Well, I mean, in their defense, they did try to give... They requested two different things. And he's like, he just kept asking for a request according to, from their thoughts. They tried.
Yeah.
They tried hard.
And if the controller had used standard phraseology, then maybe this wouldn't have been something we would be talking about, right? Anyway, continuing on. Yeah, some more international feedback. This time from Africa, Ahmad Damhamadou in Nigeria, Abuja, with more feedback. I trust that you're all doing great. He says, "Hello, brotherly and sisterly APGers." Very nice greeting. What I've presented below is the result of untethering my imagination so that it flew wildly after running wildly. It's also a reminder that I'm not a pilot yet. Ooh, a little hint or something there. He says, I have way too much to learn about aircraft systems, etc., but still nuts about becoming one. I'd like to sample all your thoughts, especially that of Captain Wikipedia. Yeah, unfortunately, he hasn't been with us in a while. But we can always send it to him. Maybe he'll send us some analysis back. Did he? Okay. Well, the thing that I would want to say before we go on is that your thought that you can't be a pilot because you have so much more to learn about aircraft systems is completely wrong. We don't know anything about aircraft systems at all. We know how to fly the airplane, and that's pretty much it. No, I'm
That's
just
what
kidding.
the book
I'm
is
only
for.
speaking for myself.
That's what the book is for.
Exactly. That's what the checklist is for, the QRH. Okay, so he says, so in his subject line for this feedback, he says, is there anything in aviation similar to my idea of forel, capital F, capital O, capital R, or I should say, or uppercase, lowercase e, and uppercase L, forel. Fox, Oscar, Romeo, Echo, Lima. Okay, and I'm thinking, what is he talking about? So he says that means for him, flame out relight. Don't mind me, I just came up with this term. I'm referring to the situation phenomenon whereby a jet engine suddenly flames out, extinguished ignition, and then immediately or almost immediately relights, or reestablishes ignition due to its igniters being set previously to the continuous ignition mode. He says, I'm concerned about a brief electrical loss of power that could or would occur during the flame out relight and its effects on certain avionics at the time of occurrence. There are different scenarios in which a jet engine will experience a flame out, including and especially during flights through areas of heavy precip. Pilots are responsible for anticipating to the best of their ability the risk of a flame out occurrence before it occurs so that they can mitigate such a risk by switching their ignition system from the normal mode, the hot flame preserving combustor flame holder, to the continuous mode, busy spark plugs / igniters. While such a switch ensures that the engine can be restarted either automatically or manually, it can result, depending on aircraft's electricity system architecture, in an electrical blink, he says, I think, which may be harmless to certain systems because of instantaneous electrical backup from a battery or previously engaged APU generator, or because of the system's low essentiality to the concerned phase of flight. That phrase right there, low essentiality, reminds me of something back from my 727 days. And for those of you listening to the audio podcast, you'll recall this. Protect essential! That's something that the pilots up front would yell back at the flight engineer when we were having electrical problems. Protect essential. At the same time, it could also be harmful to certain processes, or processes, if you prefer, of certain systems or groups of systems, since a momentary absence of power could starve the process of electrical power needed to sustain the ongoing session of the process. For example, disengagement of a running session of engaged Cat 3 ILS Autoland in an aircraft on short final. The flight crew may have to downgrade to manual approach or engage approach mode on their mode control panel because the second autopilot that had been previously engaged is now disengaged due to the electrical blink that the 4L caused. Okay, I'm pausing here for a second.
I'd like to point something out real quick. So yeah. I don't think he knows more about these systems than we do. At this point, it seems like.
I think
pretty in depth chance
of that.
I think he's mastered the art and craft of talking like you know what the heck you're talking about.
Nailed it.
and that means that's perfect pilot material because that's exactly what we do. Or a podcast, if you can be a podcaster too. Okay, continuing on, I think that an interesting way to ensure immunity from the flame out, relight, induced electric and pneumatic blink is to turn on the APU within the altitude range that it can be operated, have the aircraft fed electrically and pneumatically off the APU, thereby isolating sensitive equipment from the operational flow hiccups that result from electrical and even pneumatic blinks caused by the flame out relight. Okay, so, well, okay. He said at the very end here, P.S. I'm going to wear a helmet and seatbelts in case any of you wants the title of the APG episode featuring this feedback of mine as FOREL or something like that. I don't think there's any risk of that or chance of us using that for a show title, Dan. All right, so you wrote back, Captain Nick, to Ahmed Dan Hamadou. And what did you say?
Well, I'm just going to been thinking about it. I basically said to him, yeah, when I went on to Airbus, this system already existed. And I was thinking about it actually because when I first flew the Hawker Hunter in the 70s, when we fired the guns, the igniters in the engine used to automatically come on because the smoke, ingestion of the smoke and the disturbance of the airflow because of the shock waves coming off the bullets had in the past flamed out the engine. So that was it. And also reminded me that my old man, when he flew Britannias, they were required to fly by their company very high speed, very low level, like about 10,000 feet. And they suffered from a lot of icing. So the Bristol engine manufacturer said, well, this icing's causing flameouts. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn the igniters on continuously throughout the flight. And it used to lead to these enormous, well, they still got flameouts, but the engine relit. And they said it used to upset the passengers, particularly at night, when like 30 feet of flame would suddenly leap out of the back of one of these engines as it relit. But they're a lot more they're a lot more sophisticated now. So the engines are particularly the pressures are particularly well monitored, and as the computerized logic in the FADEC Ahmed can tell what kind of problem the engine might be having. If it's a simple flame out, and it's very rare for an engine just to stop burning, but if it is a simple flame out, then it will immediately put on the igniters and relight the engine. It can also detect if it's a surge or a stall, and it will take appropriate automatic actions as well as putting up warnings so that the crew can take actions as well. So Airbus have had it for a while, and I have no doubt that other engine-stroke aircraft manufacturers have equivalent systems in their aircraft. They've been around for a long time.
Even down to the Malibu, we've got an auto function on the igniters. You go to on for takeoff and landing, and after your initial climb phase, you go to auto. And I believe it's based on the ITT gauge. If the ITT drops below a certain threshold, it'll start the igniters back up.
ITT, for those that don't know what that stands
interturbine temperature.
Oh,
right. Excellent.
I didn't know what that meant.
I mean, we could still select continuous ignition on the engines, because if we were going into an area of known icing, it's kind of belt and braces. We know the engine's going to relight itself if there's a problem. But if you're in very heavy precipitation, you might want to just, because you made you feel more comfortable. But there's not a lot of current drawn by the igniters. I mean, there's a bit, but the generators on an aircraft like the 340 and even the big twins are massive. And then there's not going to be a significant disruption in the electrics just by putting the igniters on or having them on. So don't worry about other systems being effective or even the pneumatics, because your initial relights will be because the engine's still windmilling at high speed, and that you'll get sufficient airflow through into the engines.
I think that was his one of the things that he kind of made a point of and put in bold. I'm concerned about the brief electrical loss of power that could or would occur during a flame out relight, and then you just answered that. So I'm sure that's really what he was kind of concerned about and wanted to know.
I don't think that's an issue. There are much bigger draws on the generators than just the igniters.
Okay. Very cool. Well, Ahmad, I hope that answered your question.
I'm afraid so. Yeah. He was banking on that for his pension.
Scanning through here, I think. Oh gosh, we still have a bunch of good feedback. Let me just quickly we'll go ahead and save the rest for. We may have to do I guess we want to do a feedback focused episode maybe coming up here in the future. We got it? Okay. Great. Okay, good. Good to hear. So we're going to go ahead and end this week's episode. We're going to wrap it up, as we like to do, with pointing you over to our airlinepilotguy.com website. And we have information there about the crew and the community and a calendar. And when I start doing a little bit more traveling as we get closer to Oshkosh and my journey up toward there, and anytime I do a trip down to Pensacola or whatever, I'm going to try to make sure that I'm putting that information, my traveling information, on the website, the calendar, and then I'll try to be better about making tweets or whatever you call it, posts on Facebook and X regarding, and Liz is going to help me do that. And let's see. So anyway, lots of good. Yeah. Speaking of the social medias, let's one of you two's guys. Why don't you tell us about the social medias?
I did it last time. It's Nick's turn.
Nick's turn. He's looking around. What Nick? No, you, Captain Anderson.
Nick who? What?
Yeah.
Me?
Guy at the top.
If you're a Facebook fan, then facebook.com/airline pilot guy, all one word. And if you prefer your news on X, then at APG crew is the thing to look for. On the Instagrams, instagram.com/APG crew. And YouTube, well, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know. But if you don't, then youtube.com/airline pilot guy.
Yes. Very nice, very nice. Okay, and we also are on Slack, and let's see if we have the guy that manages that for us. Yep, he's very clean. Hello. Could you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Not only is he very clean, but he's also very hydrated, and he's going to come over here and drip all over the. You're getting stuff all over my equipment, my electrical equipment, just to be sure that anybody doesn't jump to any conclusions about what I mean.
Thank you for clarifying.
I was just going to say something.
Yeah, I am wearing pants. I just want people to know that. And why don't you tell us about Slack? Hello?
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
What the heck is on this hand towel, Jeff?
Don't worry about it. All right. And let's see. We'd also like to thank our producer, Liz, for all the work that she does before, after, and during our podcast recording. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Liz, you're awesome. And we'd also like to thank our live chat crew that most of them are here each and every week and giving us a lot of entertainment and sometimes even good information.
And a lot of hassle.
And a lot of hassle, for sure. Yeah, keeping us on our toes. So thank you for that.
We have someone new
and,
in the chat room, I think, today.
Oh, we have somebody
I don't know
new?
his name.
Okay, in the chat room, Kay.
I want to hear you pronounce that.
Yeah, I think Jeff should say it.
Susulis. Right?
Susulis.
Susulis.
Yeah, there's a lot of silent consonants in that name.
Yeah, welcome, sir. That sounds Greek to me. I mean, literally, it sounds Greek to me. So welcome to the chat room. Hope everybody treated you nicely there. I'm sure they did. And let's see, what else do we want to say? Well, I guess we're going to be back again next week, and we hope to see you again or have you listen to us again. And in the meantime, we invite you to, why do I keep screwing that up?
Wishing you.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Ta-ta for now.
See ya.
See you next time.
This is like the first indication that I'm losing my mind.
I think you're, that's
I don't think it was the first one.
No. And what do you mean losing?
I think you got the tense is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Titles.
You guys are just
brutal.
I feel the love. I really do.
Nothing
Turn off
but
your
support.
recorder.
Yes.
Anything
do you
we
wear
can do.
your support, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm wearing. No.
Did you have to cough the check?
Yeah, I did. It's the only excitement I get in that department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here are my suggestions for titles. I'm not sure any of them are any good, but here we go. What's Up, Lock? Like, you know how
Yeah, got that.
Okay. Hotline Goes Cold. Hotline Goes Cold. The Too Tall Pilot. TOO Tall Pilot. That's stilts. So we were talking about stilts there.
Yeah, Graph 18.
Didn't we have
stilts?
What was it that made me think of Dr. Oh, it was the up lock, down lock. You could have hotline, cold line, up lock, down lock. Like kind of Dr. Seussy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I've got Stripped Right Down. That Martin Mars was stripped right down, so do that with what you may. I don't know.
Hang on a minute. I've just got hotline, cold line, unlock.
Up lock, down lock.
Up lock, down lock. Thank you.
Okay.
And don't mention that one you just mentioned.
We've got Stripped Right Down, Nick.
The one about the strippers?
Yeah.
We've also got The Perspiration of Japan.
Oh, yeah, Perspiration of Japan.
And if you want to be really nice, you could do a little flame coming out the back of one of those engines.
We could. And
Poor
here,
Ahmed.
there's actually another one here that actually describes our show. It's called Low Essentiality. Low Essentiality.
That checks.
Yeah. Anyway, you think you can work with any of those?
Maine
Yeah?
Marin says,
heaps,
lost and found in Canada.
Yeah, there you go.
Pilots in dresses. No,
we
Peter,
said
I
he
can't
did
tell
that
you how many
last.
times we've done that, including the last episode.
Like the last episode. There he is. Right, let me find him.
Yeah, but it's not the first time, and probably not the last.
No, it won't
that
be.
you
You're
see
gonna-
a
you're gonna
pilot
end
in a
up-
dress.
Pretty soon, you're going to end up with the background of the photo being all of the little things, like the jackass penguin. Then you're going to have a little bobblehead of a guy in a dress. Like,
Yeah.
You ever seen when Jeeps drive around, especially here in the South, Jeff? You seen the little ducks lined up on the dash? That's what the back of every cover art's going to look like.
Perfect. All the little extras.
Do
Yeah,
you think you're good there with something, Nick? I'm sure.
Oh,
you can-
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Very
something.
good. Something. Thanks, everybody. Love to see you in the chat. Thank
Yeah,
you.
great
very
to see
much.
everybody.
Great comments this week. Well done.
I was expecting some more Europeans given the time, but we didn't really. We had Ralph. We had Ralph Nusk, but that was about it.
Next trip to Maine, Marin and Micah, I promise to reach out.
Okay, you better do that. They'll show you a good time.
I'll
I'm
get
sure.
in trouble if I don't.
I wish my tongue was in a Russian. Oh, no.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa. That escalated quickly.
Oh my! And with that, we'll end the stream. Bye, everybody.
I've
Now,
actually
we're
written
talking
down
about them
Russian tongue here, Jeff.
Okay. See you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.